I mean, it's not courtesy of the floor, we're talking on the bill.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
We're
writing up.
And how about if we bow our head and pray for whomever we want to pray and take a moment in silence for whatever we want to. Thank you.
Before I begin, I'm here obviously to talk about a $1.25 million issue. And frankly, to give you enough background, it will take me 9.5 or 10 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Mark Malucci, 107 North Ellsworth, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I can understand the $1.25 million because you guys had everybody in there the very next day. Okay? It was an emergency and extreme situation, so yeah, the bill was a little bit higher.
So $1.25 million, if I understand correctly, the city budget for the entire fiscal year, I think it's $103 million, give or take. Am I correct in roughly stating that? That's 1% of that amount of money.
Mr. Hyman wants to cast himself as a victim here, and he's cast aspersions on the mayor and city council for making what he believes is a rash decision. A few things to keep in mind. I practiced law for 25 years. I did insurance litigation. His statement to the media that it's impossible to get insurance on a vacant building is blatantly untrue.
Do I think the taxpayers should be paying for the demolition of this building? Absolutely not. And as one of Allentown's largest taxpayers, and the person who may have created more property tax revenue for this city than anyone in Allentown's history, I am uniquely sensitive to wasting taxpayer dollars.
The building was basically going to collapse, correct? Okay, so if the building did collapse and the properties around it would have been damaged, who would have been held liable for that? Would it have been Hyman or the city?
Just a point of clarification, because there were several people who came up and spoke and talked about the 1.25 million. That is not an amount of money that has been spent. That's a budgeted amount. It could come in less than that. I just want to emphasize that to everyone in the audience, that could come in less. I just felt that was worth saying.
And the city solicitor, I tried the cell phone that he gave me. I also asked our deputy clerk if she had any numbers for him, for the city to call. She gave me a number. In front of the deputy clerk, I tried to call these numbers. They were both disconnected.
So was there any way for partial demolition to occur and temporary fencing put up in order to save costs until such time that council and administration could meet with Mr. Hyman and or his lawyers?
Okay, so I understand that we spent 1.25 million, but we were saving ourselves from any further lawsuits, correct?
Going on the 1.25 million that it is going to cost to demolish the building is a safety concern for all the constituents here in Allentown.
And my question is that 1.25, is that engraved in stone or?
I've seen that waste every day from the first days of this administration, with hiring dozens of people, despite the fact that the city is losing $5 million and will undoubtedly be raising our taxes in this upcoming budget.
I'm sorry. Were there other companies that could have been contacted to possibly, I know again, it's a short period of time and we all agree public safety is the number one responsibility of the people in this room right here. But was there any other companies besides it? I believe it's a company out of Reading.
It might be prudent for council to consider, this bill is being referred to committee. It'll be examined by the finance committee where a more detailed discussion can take place.
Was it that much of an impending danger?
There actually was more than one company contacted, Mr. President. I mean, Mr. Leitner might be able to answer some of these questions.
Why should we, the taxpayers, city of Allentown, have to foot the bill for a negligent real estate tycoon? Yes, he was negligent, he had a vacant building, he knew we couldn't get insurance on it. Okay, there are insurance companies that will insure vacant properties for something like this.
It's just very expensive. That's a cost of doing business. Do a simple Google search, insure vacant building, and you'll find insurance companies that advertise for selling this kind of insurance. Mary Hart could insure her legs on television as an anchor. You can insure anything if you have enough money. Mr. Hyman claims he's a multimillionaire and he's invested in the city. I give him credit for that. He says that the mayor didn't call him, that no one called him. He did know that his building caught fire. Did he call the mayor?
No security system, no electricity, really. Could have blocked up the windows and the doors on the first and second floor with concrete cinder blocks. Protect your building, protect your investment.
But I will not pay for someone's stupidity, nor should I be expected to. I recently tore down a 40,000 square foot building on Gordon Street. It cost me $72,000. This past summer, I tore down a 10,000 square foot building in Nazareth for $37,000. I went out for bid on this demolition before I knew the city was doing the work. One bid came in from the same company which did these two aforementioned jobs for me. I have that bid here for you tonight. The amount quoted for the entire job is $217,325.
As Mr. Hyman Nate so articulately put, that he has so many businesses in the Allentown area. My hat's off to him for creating affordable housing in Allentown. That's essential. Developing Allentown, making it a vibrant community.
You said, is that engraved in stone? The answer to that would be a simple no.
How many bids were there? Were there any other bids that came in? Because usually when something happens like this, or any job in particular, there is numerous bids.
Did he call the fire department? Did he call the president of city council? Did he call public works? Did he call anyone when he knew his buyer, his building posed a danger to the city of Allentown?
But I will say this, there are no winners in this room right now. Everybody's a loser in this situation, whether it's the council and administration in front of me, whether it's Mr. Hyman, whether it's the taxpayers that are gonna, unfortunately take this burden. We've got egg on our face as a city, because I think, it seems like a very exorbitant amount of money.
According to the information that council received, that would be, a short answer would be yes.
Okay. So there was not time, or there was time to get a second opinion?
Was not.
Yeah, there was no time, okay.
And frankly, I think I could have gotten it done for less. As these documents I will give you will clearly illustrate, the cost for the demolition of a commercial building is $4 to $6 per square foot. If one simply Googles per square foot cost for demolishing a commercial building, they can confirm these numbers.
Believe you me, it will be less than 1.25 million. I'm gonna make sure that happens.
Bottom line is, he has a limited liability company that owned the building. That's legal. There's also a moral responsibility here. It's nice that he brought a check. I urge the city to do what he asked and accept the check and put it in escrow, and then to work out a solution here. There's probably a reasonable ground somewhere between $200,000 and $1.25 million, and there may be another company that can finish the demolition that was started, and you should be able to reach agreement.
But there's one thing he left out, I think, in my opinion, is that he took a known risk in buying these buildings, right? High risk, high reward.
To pay $1.25 million for the demolition of that building is so outrageous that I respectfully suggest that City Council should investigate who is getting rich from this. Because I assure you that someone certainly is.
It's his responsibility to take care of it, not ours, the taxpayers. I don't agree with it one bit. Money could go into fixing building structures owned by the city, to house the homeless, fixing potholes in the streets. Could go to different agencies to help the community.
Using just common sense, you know that they have said this job will take plus or minus 10 days. That means they are making $125,000 per day. If there are 5 guys working on site, that would mean they're paying each of them $25,000 per day.
My roof is going down on my shed. Can the city come and take care of that for me? It's my responsibility. It's my home.
And the other thing is, when an emergency happens like this, and, you're on city council, and it's a $1.5 million price tag, what's the logic that goes through your brains?
It is precisely because of outrageous expenditures like this that this city is barreling towards insolvency.
That's a significant blow to the city, to the taxpayer.
Okay, and they will charge higher. That's with any company out there. Get somebody to come out there and do next day service. Really. We can't hurt the people, the people of Allentown. And it really hurts me. just a run of bad luck for the guy? 2 buildings in a week's time? Somebody out to get me? No, I don't believe that for a minute.
Really think that would happen? Yeah, or less.
You know, just as those buildings that he's developing, and all due respect to him for doing that, but he had taken on a known risk, knowing that buying those buildings was uninsurable, and the possibilities of fire, vandalism, squatting, all of those things was there.
You know, what do you think? You want to find out, what is it? What's costing that 1.5 million?
Should have been bid out to market rate contractors, and those bids could have been back in 2 days. And if the argument is that it was an emergency and had to be done immediately, then ask yourself, what would have happened if City Council voted no to authorizing the funds? And why aren't they working on weekends and evenings?
Okay? Yeah, there's squatters and such like that, but take the precautions, take the measures not to let anybody in your building. You shouldn't be charged with anything. And no, the decision was class act.
Only comment is he should understand that the bill that he may be presented to demolish the building, and someone who says he's so concerned about the city of Allentown, that bill should be taken care of by him through his businesses, because that is what's called the cost of business.
Can you review that contract publicly at the next meeting? When you have a second reading of the contract? That's why I asked him about the ordinance.
It's gonna be going to Julio's committee, so we'll have a committee meeting on it, yeah.
Read the contract publicly.
Thank you, President McLean, City Council members. The City of Allentown has a duty and responsibility to protect our citizens, each and every one of our neighbors. Our priority in the city is public safety. Was yesterday, is today, and will be tomorrow and forever.
I went out to the site on Sunday morning at 10 a.m., and no one was working, and there was smoke coming out of the building. Clearly, it was not as much of an emergency as we were led to believe. I think that Councilman Garidi had it right when he tried to take the prudent path of minimizing the exposure.
The city took immediate action to respond to the very large fire at 418 Franklin Street on Sunday, October 7th. This was an emergency situation, a substantial one, and we treated it for it was.
Mr. Hyman shouldn't bear the brunt of this completely. The mayor shouldn't bear the brunt of this completely. City council shouldn't bear the brunt of this completely, and neither should we.
Right? So what do you do now in 2018? Just like Nat Hyman said, you Google it. We have 4 ex-cops, doctors on the city council, and nobody thought that? Where's the logic? How many bids were there?
When I stood before you when you were selecting a mayor and told you that I believed that you were selecting a CEO for a $100 million business, I believed that then, and I believe it now. When your CEO just went out and gave a contract to a company for 6 times the market rate. If you want to know why Allentown is in dire financial straits, look no further.
It's time to work together, find a solution to the problem that solves something that no one envisioned, but that he had the best opportunity to envision, because he knew there was a fire there in May of last year. He knew he cut the power, he knew there were squatters, he knew there was a risk to a building. He chose not to insure the building, he chose not to secure the building completely. It is possible to secure a building, it's expensive. All of this comes down to he made a calculated business decision, he gambled, he lost, he should pay for it.
A substantial emergency situation. It provides an ongoing threat of imminent public harm. The rubble continues to burn. Our firefighters have been on the scene since the beginning, doing an outstanding job.
And when Ray was grandstanding before you, yelling that, quote, "Mr. Hyman, this is not a threat, it is a promise. You will pay the city back every penny." He either knew then that what he was saying wasn't true, or is painfully uninformed.
They have not left. They remain there. It is an ongoing fire. The building needed to be demolished so that our firefighters could safely extinguish the ongoing fire. The fire, the building, and the rubble have been and remain substantial threats of imminent public harm.
The property is owned by a limited liability corporation. There is absolutely no recourse to you recovering that money. But the anger that Ray tried to have everyone direct at me is misguided.
Children have tried to access the site several times. People have tried to access the site several times. Parts of the remaining structure are unstable. We have a duty to protect the public. We have done so. The city has secured the site. We have posted firefighters on the site around the clock.
I am willing to pay that which it would have cost me had I done it as it should have been done. Accordingly, I hold here a check made payable to the city of Allentown for $217,325, which is more than generous because I could have negotiated that price down.
Given the ongoing fire, the ongoing emergency situation, the city hired a firm specializing in larger demolitions with equipment, experience, and economies of scale to safely tear down the building to protect the public and our firefighters and emergency personnel.
I am willing to give it to your solicitor tonight, provided that it's held in escrow, and I'm given the assurance that it will only be cashed upon a mutually agreeable agreement that stipulates that there will be no liens placed on the property and no litigation related to this matter will be initiated against me or any of my companies.
From the imminent dangers caused by an ongoing fire and the flare-ups that come with it, as well as the possible collapse of a large building, the city will continue to protect the public from imminent dangers of this fire today and tomorrow and going forward. Public safety is our #1 priority and always will be. Thank you.
Any reasonable person understands that I should not bear the burden of Ray's poor business management skills. The city just wasted $1.25 million, but you aren't going to put that on me. I didn't start this fire. I didn't ask or authorize anyone from the city to knock this building down, nor was I even consulted about it. I didn't ask or authorize anyone from the city to pay for it. I fully expected to knock it down myself and at my own cost, and would have done so promptly if given the chance. I certainly didn't agree or authorize to pay $1.25 million for this work.
So I'm asking here that hopefully we can have some kind of amicable resolution that obviously saves the taxpayers some money and preserves public safety to the best of our abilities here.
It should be directed at the person who decided to pay $1.25 million for a $200,000 job.
Here's what I will say here.
First of all, you said no one from the city tried to reach you. I did. With the approval of the mayor.
Finally, we all agree that two of this city's biggest issues are blight and affordable housing. I'm the only one attacking both of those problems on a meaningful scale, and the only one doing substantial development in Allentown without any government assistance or tax advantage. I don't need your thanks or recognition, but I certainly should not be criticized while doing it. If you ever hope to see development of the long neglected east side and south side and the downtown area outside the NIS, you must be accommodating to people who try to do it and treat them with a modicum of decency and civility.
Amen.
And I will give you those papers, and if council wants to check, I'll be happy to give it to them.
And I think that should be taken care of in an appropriate manner. You know how to do business, Mr. Hyman, before the council meeting is in place to turn over the check.
May I approach and give you the documents?
You certainly may.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Anybody else on Bill 74? From the public.
I don't see how we are able to get a hold of Mr. Hyman if he disconnects his telephones. And also, I can't imagine any citizen that can't get a hold of the mayor of Allentown. We had a very small window of time to demolish that property. We did not have the luxury of getting RFPs or waiting for him, well, I have you, because I thought he'd be here, for him to respond. This was a major safety issue. The fire could not be put out unless it was demolished. We got that from our chief of police, all the experts in this had, I'm sorry, fire chief, and the police chief of police. And you're right, sir, if it had collapsed, it could have possibly destroyed other homes and injured someone or worse. And you can imagine what that loss it would have been like. Having said that, I don't care how you slice the pie, Mr. Hyman, it ultimately was your responsibility to make sure this property was secured and insured. We took the steps to remove this hazard. Had we not, we were not going to be irresponsible like you and do absolutely nothing. And I'm sorry he left, I wanted him to hear that.
He will.
Mr. Mayor. Okay. I mean, it's not courtesy of the floor, we're talking on the bill.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're winding me up.